Well, good afternoon. This is a somewhat impromptu live stream from the Northallerton Courthouse here in North Yorkshire. And I'm here with Jimbo, otherwise known as James Stud or Studdy, known by multiple names. So, James, why are we standing outside the courtroom here?
Yes, we're standing here because last March, towards the end of last March, I was knocked off my bike by one of the Third Energy employees.
Come closer and speak up.
On a public bridleway in North Yorkshire near the site. There's a video showing him deliberately knock me off my bike, so we're here today to try and get that.
So the date for this case was actually set some months ago, and in fact the Crown Prosecution Service, who brought the case against the Third Energy driver, were making sure that we were going to be here. They wrote to me twice, they phoned me up twice.
Yeah, I mean, my parents had someone go around the house to say if I didn't turn up that a warrant was going to be issued.
Hang on a second.
Sorry, it wasn't even if I turned up. If I didn't reply to their letter, that a warrant would be issued
for your arrest.
For my arrest.
And you've had to come here today from
Sheffield.
From Sheffield, and I've had to come from Surrey to be here today. And we turned up at 10 o'clock this morning, only to find that there were 3 cases scheduled for 10 o'clock. And
yeah, surprise, surprise.
So, and the Crown Prosecutor basically suggested that the other 2 cases will take priority over James's case.
Yep, yeah, I mean, they said those 2 need to go first because mine was a pretty low charge of importance, I suppose.
So when he was intimating that the likelihood of this case being heard today, the Crown Prosecutor seemed to get a little bit rattled when I suggested that this appeared to be a political decision.
At first, yeah, they said they got rattled and basically just went defensive mode. No, it's not. It's nothing to do with that. It's just because the other ones are more important. There was no explanation as to why. But then obviously later we thought differently.
So at lunchtime, one of the 3 cases had been heard during the course of the morning, and a verdict had been achieved. And then the Crown Prosecutor came out and said that the other case was going to be heard this afternoon, but he then reiterated that actually the likelihood of us getting into court today, because I was a prime witness to this incident because it was my film footage that led to the Crown Prosecution Service actually instigating charges against the Third Energy driver. And the prosecutor said that there was no chance of it being heard today, and that it would now go before the district judge in York on April the 5th, but that would only be for a date to be set. And when I suggested that this was extremely political, the Crown Prosecutor basically got extremely defensive and said, well, yes, obviously this is a deep conspiracy theory and I'm just a tool of the state. Somehow I don't think he was being serious, but he may actually have been closer to the truth than he was prepared to admit. And then we challenged him, and as to why this case was being deferred, when it actually, in theory, it should be a simple driving without due care and attention charge. But then he let slip. He said, well, under normal circumstances, yes, but when you see that solicitors, high-powered solicitors such as Eversheds are involved, you realise there's something more to it. And then when I suggested, well, isn't that a bit of a conspiracy theory, he actually got extremely pompous, to say the least.
Yeah, very defensive. And he completely contradicted himself with it, because firstly he started by saying it's a driving charge, it makes no difference, and then went back on it to say the calibre of solicitors they've got makes it a bit more than actually at first seems.
So my conjecture is that this was way beyond the pay grade of a CPS barrister up here in the north east of England, and I think he basically bottled it and has deferred it to the district judge and to Crown Court, because he was clearly rattled by the fact that it was Eversheds that were actually defending this charge, and clearly Third Energy, who have no money whatsoever, except that when they need to find the solicitors to represent one of their employees who's effectively charged with deliberately knocking a protector off of his bicycle.
Yep.
So we're in a bit of an absurd situation here, and obviously right now it's extremely politically sensitive because the British government does not want to acknowledge that it has screwed up royally by even allowing Third Energy to put all their equipment on the pad at Kirkby Misperton, when clearly they do not have the financial wherewithal to be able to sustain any kind of operation there. And although they were reluctant to release their accounts when they did, of course, even a cursory glance shows that effectively this is a company that is insolvent and really should be wound up. But that might be even more of an embarrassment to the government right now. So here we are, we have a case that isn't going to be reported in the LIVESTREAM media, and obviously I'm sure on April the 5th the district judge will kick the can even further down the road, until such time, hopefully, as for them that is, that you know, the dust has settled on Kirkby Misperton and no one's really interested in Kirkby Misperton anymore.
It seems that way. It seems this way they've done it. And obviously the big thing with it is that someone has deliberately run me off the road with a van, and they are carrying on driving that van, and they showed absolutely no remorse for it whatsoever. They didn't get out the van, they didn't even open the window. They are still on the roads, potentially a threat to other cyclists for all we know. Yeah,
absolutely. So unfortunately the fracking wheels of injustice have ground to a halt here today, but of course that doesn't mean it's over. I mean, this case isn't based on witness statements alone, it's based on witness statements in support of video footage. So I'm really here just to say that, yeah, I was the cameraman, I was the man behind the camera filming the video footage of the Third Energy driver deliberately running James off the bridleway on his bike. Now, the Crown Prosecution Service had even requested the presence of the planning department from North Yorkshire County Council, and this was apparently to establish whether or not the incident took place on a footpath or a bridleway. But I guess that one of the arguments was that if it was on a footpath or a bridleway, then protectors are fair game for company employees. Who knows? Who knows? But anyway, I realised, of course, that something was amiss when the Crown Prosecutor actually released these potential witnesses very early this morning, in fact at around about 10:30. So we do have footage of this incident, but right now it would be somewhat remiss of us perhaps to put that footage online. But if this drags on, then of course we'll put it online, even if it means that the case gets dropped, because people need to see the behaviour of these company employees who should know better, and they should be trained in dealing with opposition, especially when it's an industry that is under more scrutiny than any industry has been put under in this country for, well, many years now. So James, you're going to see this through?
Yeah, I fully intend to see this through, because the guy deliberately run me off my bike with a, I don't know what, 2-ton van probably.
Yeah.
I was all right in the end, didn't have a head injury or anything like that, but it could have been severely worse. And it's setting a precedent for a fracking company. It doesn't matter what company they are. If someone's protesting peacefully, completely within their right of the law, that they cannot do what they want to stop that.
Absolutely.
They cannot use violence, they cannot use tactics that way to try and shut up protesters. So
it's April the 5th in the York County Courts, where the district judge will reschedule a date for this case to be heard. But don't hold your breath, because clearly there are machinations emanating from central government to kick this can down the road. And as the Crown Prosecutor here said, I'm only the messenger. And I said, well, you know, you're the messenger, pass the message back up the line that we know this is a political decision. You can claim that it's just a scheduling screw up, but it's evidently way more than that. Otherwise they would have made the effort to hear the case today and got it out of the way.
He was a bit more of a one-way messenger, wasn't he?
Yeah, one-way messenger, exactly. I guess he's not prepared to put his paycheck at risk.
Yeah, I suppose it is.
Yeah. So yeah, with all due respect, Mr. Morris, you are indeed a tool of the state. Anyway, we're heading back now. James going back to Sheffield. I'm heading back further south. But I will be back tomorrow morning with a live stream at 8:30. And my great thanks to Lou Hammond, Nana Lock-On, for taking over that role this morning and putting out the 8:30 live stream. If you haven't seen it, then check out the Missing Springs Protection Camp Facebook page and get her update from this morning. So James, yeah, absolutely. So James, hey, good to catch up with you.
Yep,
and I'll see you in York, if not. Because they were expecting massive anti-fracking protests. Hey, what would you know? Catch you tomorrow morning.